Imagine a small, candlelit room in 17th century Amsterdam. A young man named Baruch Spinoza stands before the leaders of the Jewish community. He is being excommunicated. The document being read aloud is not just a dismissal, it is a curse. It forbids any member of his family, his friends, or his community from speaking to him, helping him, or even coming within 4 cubits of his presence. Spinoza is 23 years old. He has no money, no social standing outside of this community, and no clear path forward. To the observers, he is a man whose life has just ended. To Spinoza, however, this moment is a liberation. He does not plead, he does not apologize, he does not lose his composure. He accepts the decree with a calm that borders on the unnatural. He simply moves to a small house in the countryside and spends the rest of his life grinding lenses for telescopes and writing one of the most profound philosophical works in history. Spinoza's confidence was not based on the approval of his community, the wealth of his family, or the success of his social life. It was based on a self-concept that was entirely independent of external variables. He had built a psychological structure that could not be broken by the world because it was not anchored in the world. This is the secret to consistent self-confidence, the shift from an external anchor to an internal one. The biological reality of confidence is often misunderstood as a surge of testosterone or a hit of dopamine. While these chemicals play a role, the fundamental mechanism is located in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-monitoring and social evaluation. Your brain is constantly running a self-concept audit. It is comparing your current actions to your internal model of who you are. When there is a mismatch, when you act in a way that is inconsistent with your self-defined values, the brain triggers a state of cognitive dissonance. This dissonance feels like a lack of confidence. It is a signal of internal conflict. Most people try to resolve this feeling by seeking external validation, likes, praise, or financial wins, to override the internal signal. This is a biological error. External validation is a temporary chemical spike that fades quickly, leaving the underlying dissonance untouched. True confidence is the state of neural alignment, where your prefrontal cortex recognizes that your behavior is 100% consistent with your internal rules. It is not a feeling of being better than others. It is the absence of internal conflict. When Spinoza stood before his accusers, his brain was in a state of perfect alignment. He had followed his reason to its logical conclusion, and therefore the social rejection had no biological grip on his self-concept. We can diagnose the modern crisis of confidence as the external anchor trap. In this state, your self-concept is tethered to variables you do not control. The volatility of the futures market, the algorithm of a social platform, or the shifting opinions of a client. When the anchor moves, your confidence moves with it. This creates a fragile identity. If your self-concept is, "I am a profitable trader," then a week of drawdowns is not just a financial loss. It is an identity crisis. You feel less than because the foundation of your confidence has shifted. The trap is the belief that you can stabilize the anchor by working harder on the external variables. You cannot. The market will always be volatile. The algorithm will always change. People will always be unpredictable. The only way to achieve consistency is to cut the line to the external anchor and retether your self-concept to your internal attributes. You must stop defining yourself by what you achieve and start defining yourself by how you operate. A self-concept built on, "I am a person who follows my process," is unbreakable because you can follow your process even in the middle of a disaster. To build a self-concept that doesn't break, we must look to the Stoic philosophy of Epictetus. Epictetus was born a slave. He had no control over his body, his labor, or his physical safety. Yet, he became one of the most influential teachers in Rome. His central insight was the dichotomy of control. He taught that our only true possession is our prohairesis, our faculty of choice and will. Everything else, your reputation, your wealth, your physical health, is indifferent. Epictetus argued that if you place your confidence in things outside your will, you are essentially a slave to the world. But if you place your confidence in your own choices, you are invincible. This is not just a nice thought. It is a radical restructuring of the self. When you adopt this philosophy, your confidence is no longer a response to winning. It is a response to integrity. Integrity is the state of being whole and undivided. If you say you will work for 4 hours and you do it, your integrity increases. If you say you will risk only 1% on a trade and you do it, your integrity increases. This internal citadel is where consistent confidence lives. It is a place where the world's noise cannot reach, because the only judge that matters is the one living inside the citadel. The first tool for building this citadel is the Integrity Audit. You must recognize that your brain is a world-class record keeper of your failures. Every time you set an intention and fail to follow through, you are training your brain to stop trusting you. Low self-confidence is often just the logical result of having a low internal trust score. To fix this, you will perform a 7-day audit of every promise you make to yourself. You will purposely set goals that are so small, they are unfailable. Instead of, I will trade for 8 hours, you set, I will open my laptop at 10 a.m. Instead of, I will design a masterpiece, you set, I will draw 10 lines. The goal is not the output. The goal is the evidence of reliability. Each kept promise is a vote for your new self-concept. You are retraining your neural pathways to recognize that your word is law. Over time, the balance of your internal ledger shifts from debt to surplus. You don't need to feel confident. You simply look at the ledger and see the undeniable evidence that you are someone who does what they say. This is the foundation of a self-concept that does not break under pressure. The second tool addresses the error of result-based analysis. We will designate this the variance filter. The human brain suffers from a cognitive bias known as resulting. It judges the quality of a decision based solely on the quality of the outcome. If you take a bad risk in the market and make money, the brain registers confidence. If you execute a perfect design process and the client rejects it, the brain registers incompetence. This is a statistical error. In any complex system, whether it is the stock market, a creative career, or social interaction, there is always a degree of variance, luck, that separates your action from the result. To build an unbreakable self-concept, you must stop grading yourself on the outcome. You must decouple your internal score from the external result. You will implement a process-only scorecard. At the end of a task, do not ask, did I win? Ask, did I execute my protocol? If you followed your trading rules and lost money, that is a successful event. Good process plus bad variance. If you broke your rules and made money, that is a failure event. Bad process plus good luck. By ruthlessly filtering out the variance, you prevent the external world from corrupting your data. You stop feeling imposter syndrome when you get lucky, and you stop feeling shame when you get unlucky. You become a scientist of your own behavior. Your confidence becomes a mathematical constant derived from the consistency of your execution, not a variable derived from the chaos of the world. The community of Amsterdam believed that by casting Spinoza out, They were cutting him off from the source of life. They believed the sunlight came from their approval. Spinoza understood that the light was generated from within. Most of the world is still standing in that synagogue, waiting for the high priests of industry, social media, or finance to read a verdict on their value. They are confident when the verdict is favorable and broken when it is not. You have the opportunity to walk out of the room. Consistent self-confidence is not found in the winning trade, the perfect design, or the applause of the crowd. It is found in the quiet, dusty room where you grind the lenses of your own perception. It is the realization that your value is not a variable to be calculated by the world, but a constant to be decided by you. Build your internal citadel. Audit your integrity. Observe your actions without judgment. When you no longer need the world to tell you who you are, you will finally have the confidence to become who you want to be. The curse has no power here. Grind the lens.